I never believed in the supernatural. The dead were dead, and ghost stories were just fuel for bored minds. But everything changed after I stepped inside Greystone Asylum. It was never meant to be anything more than a dare. My cousin and I had grown up hearing tales about the place. An abandoned mental institution just outside town, hidden behind miles of overgrowth and rusted gates. Supposedly shut down in the 70s after a fire killed half the patients and a few staff. But no one ever talked about the survivors. No one ever mentioned what happened to the bodies that were never recovered. One autumn afternoon, I gave in. I told myself I was going for photos, maybe to make a video. But I think deep down, I was chasing something darker. A thrill I couldn't name. The gate was half collapsed, covered in ivy and barbed wire. Once I passed through, I could feel the temperature drop. Not the kind you feel when the sun hides behind a cloud. It was bone deep. Like walking into a freezer with no walls. The building loomed in front of me, tall and decayed, windows like hollow eyes. Some were shattered, others boarded. The main entrance had been forced open at some point. I slipped in quietly, camera in hand, flashlight clipped to my backpack strap. The air inside was thick. Dust hung like fog, every breath gritty. The scent was something I'll never forget. Mold, rust, and something faintly sweet, like rotting fruit mixed with chemicals. The kind of smell that crawls inside your nose and stays there. I walked the halls in silence, the beam of my flashlight, flickering across graffiti-covered walls, torn gurneys, overturned wheelchairs. The place had been ransacked long ago. Ceiling tiles collapsed, files scattered everywhere. But it wasn't the mess that unnerved me. It was the way everything felt paused, like the chaos had happened in an instant, and everyone had vanished. Mid-movement. I found myself drawn to the second floor, the patient wing. The stairs creaked under my weight, but I kept going. Something in me pushed forward, even when I felt the hairs on my arms rise with every step. The hallway was long and narrow, lined with rooms on both sides. Some doors were gone, some cracked open. Others were sealed shut with rusted chains. I peeked inside one room and found claw marks on the walls. Deep gouges as if someone had used their bare hands to try and dig their way out. There were words scrawled above the bed frame, barely legible through the grime. "Don't listen to the walls." That's when I heard it. A soft scratching sound. Slow, rhythmic, from behind me. I spun around, heart pounding. Nothing, just a hallway full of shadows. But the sound came again, not behind me this time, but inside the wall to my right. As if someone was moving inside it, crawling through the hollow space. My flashlight flickered. I slapped it and it steadied. But the moment it lit the wall again, I saw something. A dent. Fresh. Like the plaster had been hit from inside. I backed away slowly, camera trembling in my hand. That's when the hallway behind me changed. I know how that sounds, but it wasn't the same corridor anymore. The walls looked cleaner. The lights above were faintly glowing, even though there was no power, and there was humming, a low, tuneless melody, a woman's voice, off-key, coming from deeper inside. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I kept walking. The floor beneath me creaked and groaned. Some doors were open now that weren't before. One room had a doll on the floor, perfectly placed in the center. Another had a wheelchair slowly spinning on its own. Then I came to room 217. The door was wide open. Inside, everything was untouched. Bed made, lamp intact. Even the calendar on the wall was still hanging, the date frozen on October 3rd, 1972. The day of the fire. There were no scorch marks in that room, no damage. It was like the fire had never touched it, and sitting in the chair beside the bed was a figure, motionless, shrouded in shadow. I couldn't see its face and only its hands, thin, pale, gripping the armrests tightly. I blinked, and it was gone. The chair was empty, but the pressure in the room remained, like someone was still watching me, standing right behind me. When I turned to leave, the hallway was dark again and cold, colder than before, And just before I stepped out, I heard it. Not a whisper, but a voice. Clear, sharp, close. Stay. Ran, but I didn't escape, because that voice still follows me, even now. I thought I had left it behind. When I burst out of that place, lungs burning, heart pounding like it was about to explode, I told myself it was just fear, just panic. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me because of all the stories I'd heard. That's what I kept telling myself, over and over. But the nightmares started the very next night. They weren't like normal dreams. I'd wake up with my mouth wide open, gasping like I had forgotten how to breathe. Sometimes I'd find bruises on my arms, deep ones, finger-shaped, and they weren't mine. Each night I'd see the hallway again, the same one from the second floor, but this time I'd be crawling, unable to walk, dragging myself forward as a shadow moved just ahead, humming that awful, tuneless lullaby, and behind me, the sound of scratching, getting louder, closer. I stopped sleeping after the third night. I tried distracting myself. Work, friends, noise, anything to keep my mind from drifting. But the quiet always came. And with it, that voice, not just in my head, in my house. It started with the small things. My bedroom door would creak open in the middle of the night. I'd find lights on that I was sure I turned off. Once, I found wet footprints leading from the bathroom to the edge of my bed. I live alone. I tried to forget Greystone Asylum, but it didn't forget me. It was like something from that place had come back with me. Or maybe it never really let me go in the first place. I started researching. Anything I could find about the place. Most of it was local legends. Fire in 72, patients trapped. Only a handful of staff escaped. But the name that kept coming up, over and over again, was Dr. Henry Callow, head psychiatrist, respected. But something wasn't right about him. Old articles mentioned whispers about his methods, patients disappearing under his care, treatments that didn't make it into the official reports. The asylum burned down before any investigation could finish. Some people believed he died in the fire. Others weren't so sure. I found an old photograph in an archived news article. It showed Callow standing outside the building, his hand on the shoulder of a young girl in a hospital gown. Her eyes looked empty, not sad, not scared, just hollow. Swear I've seen her before, in the dreams, the same black eyes, the same pale face, the same slow twitching smile that doesn't belong on a child. The more I dug, the worse things got. I stopped hearing the voice in just one room. Now it followed me from place to place. I'd hear whispers while walking down grocery aisles. Feel cold fingers brush my shoulder in elevators, and always, that humming. One night, I woke up in the hallway of my apartment building. I don't remember how I got there. I was barefoot. My hands were smeared with something dark. I smelled smoke, and in my pocket was a photo. Old, yellowed, torn. It was of room 217, the very same room I had stepped into that day in the ward. Only now, there was someone in the window, a figure I hadn't seen before, watching me, smiling. That's when I knew I hadn't escaped that place. Part of me was still trapped inside it, and whatever came back with me, it wasn't done yet.